Hi, and welcome to the latest instalment of the main Automower challenge. Now firstly, apologies. I know a lot of you have been getting quite irate that I haven't given you a regular update. I do apologise. Work, family, life, the universe, you know, the usual stuff's got in the way. And to be honest with you, the other thing was, realistically, I wanted to give you an update after a good year. And in our case, we've now had Parker running for about 18 months. So it's a pretty good time to give you kind of an update of where we are, how we're getting on with him, what's been going on. So as I said, there's no real major issues. One issue that I did have over the autumn of last year and spring of this year was, I don't know if you can see here, but when I fixed the boundary wire when it was installed, it was just a bit too close to the edge here. There's a bit of a slope here, probably can't see on the video, but there's a bit of a slope here, falls away, and the boundary wire came in a couple of times. Parker was kind of stuck in. I think as he turned around, his back wheel got caught, and where it was on a slope, that wheel just caught him behind the edge of the lawn and the border, and became stuck. Nothing ever really happened. He just sort of stayed there. You come out, you lift him up, move him on, and set him off his way. But it happened 3 or 4 times, so in the end what I did was just to refix the boundary wire and rebed it just a bit further back, just to make sure that didn't happen. Now, a big comment that I've had lots of comments about, well, yeah, that's fine, but how does it cope with leaves? Well, what I've done is let the leaves fall in the garden as much as possible, and I've had them last year probably, you know, in some cases sort of half a foot deep, and you can see that it doesn't make any difference at all. The Automower will just go over the top of them. It will cut them a bit, shred them up, but if you collect your leaves either by rake or a billy goat or whatever you use, it's no real problem. It probably does blunt the blades a bit more than it would do normally, but to be honest with you, I haven't really noticed anything significant. One thing you can see, getting closer, is that the leaves do tend to collect a bit on the back of the Automower. It doesn't actually stop the Automower working, and what you do find, I'll find it in a minute, every so often the actual leaves come off and leave like a rolled strip, but as I say, it doesn't really impact the Automower, as you can see. Now, one of the benefits of being on YouTube, as I'm sure anyone has posted on YouTube will know, you get loads of comments back from individuals, particularly naysayers, saying, the Automower, what a load of rubbish, it's not efficient. If it was efficient, it would go up and down in an organised pattern, following lines, for instance. That's the most efficient way of working. So let me just make a couple of observations. The first is, if that was going to be really efficient, it would follow the same lines. And if you can see, just here, where the Automower goes in and out of the house I constructed, you'll be able to see, this is probably the only place in the garden where the Automower has to follow the same line repeatedly. And you can probably just make out there, you get 2 lines. It's just coming back probably about half a metre from the house. And that's where its rear wheels go in and out constantly on the same line. So the reality is, if you were going to follow exactly the same lines up and down, your whole garden would look like that. The second thing is, the Automower senses what parts of the garden grow fastest at what times of the year. So what you will do is you'll find that the Automower spends a great amount of time over in that part of the garden where it's quite open and the grass grows quite freely, and yet in summer under the trees where the light's not so prevalent and nor is the water, it spends less amount of time. And then finally, when it detects more grass or longer growth, it will go into a concentric circle pattern, working its way out to make sure that that grass in the area is completely mown down. So I think, you know, people are sometimes mistaking efficiency and their view of what is efficient against what makes a really good lawn and what makes a good finish to a lawn. Now, another question that I get constantly asked is one about dog poo. So I'm going to spare you a close-up of one of Guinness's offerings here today, but I've got a Jack Russell. It's not particularly big, and therefore it doesn't really pose much of a problem. We do have a tidy up from time to time, but if we haven't and the Automower rides over it, you don't really see any impact. If you had a much larger dog, it could be a problem, but I can honestly say so far I haven't had that problem myself. Now, one of the final questions I keep getting asked a lot about is alarms and being stolen, and I think you have to put life into a bit of bit of context really. If I lived in central London, would I put this on my front lawn? Probably not. I live in the country, but you could argue it's probably as much a risk here if it was on open display. It does have an alarm, so let me just demonstrate that to you. If I pick this up without pressing the stop button or the hatch, it would have the same impact, but here we go. Look. So what will happen is the alarm will sound in a minute. It is shrill enough to alert my neighbours, myself, to what is going on. You can hear a countdown. The same would happen if I picked it up. So, you know, it's enough to alert anyone what's going on. And by the way, before you ask, I have changed the PIN number for the purposes of this this actual demonstration, so I'm not giving everyone my PIN number on YouTube. So that's kind of where we are with that. So as I say, I think you have to put it into context and be aware where you're going to go. But having said that, if I had an ordinary hand mower, would I leave that unattended in a big built up area for everyone to walk past? Probably not. Would I leave a hand mower in my back garden for an hour while I was having a coffee? Absolutely I would. So I think it's just a case of putting it into context, but fully understand that if you do live in an area prone to things being stolen or being pilfered, then it's probably not the right tool for you. So there we have it. I mean, I think that's a pretty good synopsis where I found. I think finally I would say my enthusiasm to keep the Automower cleaned and the blades changed has waned a little. I used to go out kind of once a week. I can honestly say probably I do it once every 6 weeks now, probably when I change the blades. The blades I found have lasted actually about 6 to 8 weeks, and as I said in previous posts, I tend to notice that when the grass is looking a little bit ripped rather than cut. But as I say, it's literally a 5-minute job to change. So let me know if you have any more questions and comments. Keep them coming, and I will continue to give you an update how things are going. But so far, absolutely great, and I really wouldn't want to go back to a hand mower.